Okay, and we should be live. So this is fantastic. Um, so let's wait one more minute just to give everybody a chance to join since we've kicked off about a minute or so early. Looks like we do have some people coming in. So hello, everybody who's joining. I'm very happy to have you here. And also, while everybody's joining, hopefully my voice stays intact through the duration of this conversation. Getting over a little bit of a cold today, so we'll see how long voice holds out. All right, so we are right at the top of the hour, so we'll go ahead and dive in. So once again, thank you everybody for coming to our session today about automating different processes in construction financial flows. We're really excited to have our speakers here today, and I'll turn it over to them to give a brief introduction to themselves, their background, and what brings them here today. So I'll first start with Rishi. How about you go ahead and give us a brief intro to yourself?
Hello everyone, my name is Rishi. I'm the founder of a company called Being Human. We are a document AI company. So before Being Human, I was working for Bank of America as an AI engineer, where I was doing chatbot modeling. And before that, there was a trading company I was working with, Green Plains Trade Group, where I observed that up to 10% of time of a typical accountant was wasted in manual data entry, validation, and inefficient workflows. And I found that recently, when I started this company, that a lot of people are still using OCR on that problem. And that's what inspired Being Human, that let's solve this problem in a way that's really using the cutting edge AI technology in a document template agnostic way. And that's where our solution is. And today we are going to explore how this construction financial workflows are going to be improved through our solution, as well as how the speakers approach it. Thank
All
you.
right. Thanks, Rishi. Great to have you here. So moving on, I'm just going to go around my screen. Let's go to Joe now for an introduction.
Hi, everybody. My name is Joe Harper. I'm the CFO of Kelley Brothers Roofing, a specialty roofing contractor, all 100% commercial in Fairfield, Ohio, which is just outside of Cincinnati. And I'm a CPA and CCIFP. My background is a little bit diverse. I've got about 15 years in public accounting, dealing mostly with construction contractors, and that includes A&A, tax, and consulting. And I've worked on the other side of the fence in home building, general contractor, and now specialty contractor. So I've got a fairly kind of diverse background in on both sides of the fence of the industry. And my passion has always been construction, finance, accounting, education. So I've been a long-time contributor to various construction organizations, notably the CFMA. I've got the background of the conference coming up in Dallas, a little plug for that. And but a long-time contributor in education, been president of a couple chapters, and my passion is just construction accounting. I classify myself as a lifetime learner, and one of the ways that I learn is I stretch myself through um, these education endeavors. So welcome, and hope your time is very valuable.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Appreciate the focus on education there for sure myself. Near and dear to my heart. So last but not least, let's move on to Jerry.
Yeah, thank you, Erin, Rishi, and Joe. My name is Jerry Horani. I'm the Chief Information Technology Officer for VCC Construction. VCC is a national construction general contractor and construction manager licensed in all 50 states. Diversity of product types from retail and commercial, office buildings, healthcare, multifamily, industrial. We've been in business for the company's almost 40 years. I've been in the construction technology business for about 19, coming up to 20 years. My background is computer engineering and actually programming. But over the years, I've gotten to learn a lot about construction workflows in all aspects of workflows, whether it's financials or operationals or safety or quality management. But I have actually been focused a lot on construction financial management systems and building systems that actually facilitate that. So at VCC, we've not only implemented ERPs and technologies, but we've built portals and ways to automate construction financial workflows like lien waiver collections and making sure that pay apps are submitted and timely and whatnot. And we'll talk about all that today, I'm sure. But like Joe, I am a lifetime learner of how it all evolves. And really my cup of tea and my kind of expertise has been always in building automation around workflows and using technology systems to automate as much as we can in the construction business, if you would. I'm excited for today. I want to thank everybody for inviting me, and can't wait to dive in.
Yeah, exciting. And almost 20 years in construction tech. Wow. So
Yeah.
you've seen some things.
Yeah.
So I'd like to open up the discussion from a little bit of a broader point of view. So anybody feel free to chime in and kind of leave a comment or thought here. But what is the opportunity for technology to improve construction financial workflows specifically? So I think a lot of times when we think about construction, we don't immediately go to the finance side. So what's the big opportunity here that you guys see?
Well, I'll jump in from a CFO's perspective. The lowest hanging fruit for me is automating accounts payable. That's the easiest ROI and the easiest to sell to leadership, because there's really no value add for a person sitting there pounding in numbers to an invoice into a system and then filing that away. All that drives me insane. But I think that said, the larger value to a construction company, and hopefully we'll talk about this later in depth, is the use of technology and cash flow forecasting. Because in construction, absolutely the first thing that I learned in construction is that cash is king. And if you think about it, cash touches every area of the construction company and most of the key metrics that construction companies measure. So really the smart use of technology and cash flow forecasting is the largest value for me.
Great insight. And then let's go to Jerry and then Rishi next. But before you guys chime in, I do want to make a note to the audience and anybody who's out there listening. If you have a question for our panelists or a comment or want to share a thought, please do use the chat or the comment box to share that with us. So I am monitoring and I will do my best to get to all the questions and comments that we have coming in. So please feel free to utilize that throughout the discussion. All right, so next Jerry and then Rishi. So opportunities for tech to improve.
You know, Joe brought up a great point. I mean, obviously the automation of AP has been, I mean, listen, if you go around and you just Google automation and AP, there's a ton of solutions out there that do just simple invoice management, you know, automation of some sorts. And there's so many different solutions. There is still an opportunity because that's called, you know, it costs the company overhead to manage that. And the more efficient you are, the more automated you are as a construction company, managing the AP and the invoice management and actually tracking them, you know, the more efficient you're going to be in dollars you spent on overhead. So it goes both ways. But you know, things have been evolving so much with technology that the old way of you get an invoice, you submit it, you get it approved, and then you cut a check. It's almost obsolete. There's so many different payment methods. There's so many different ways people can spend money nowadays. And, you know, you can't let go of the consumer easiness now that, like, for example, you know, consumers have so many easier ways to spend and pay bills or pay each other. When they go to construction, oh, now I gotta be going through an invoice. So I got a Venmo here and I got a invoice and backup and whatnot here. So, immediately somebody can come and step into construction, financial management and see, oh, we're so behind. But, along with that, you've got compliance, which means you got to get the right document, you got to get the right backup, you got to do it timely, and you got to submit it timely so you can get paid for it. So there's so many factors that could be managed better, and that's really part of the way why when I met Rishi, that was part of the way. Like everybody does OCR, everybody does, everybody thinks it's cheap, but no one having an AI type engine that can read and make up the invoice and reduce the time that it takes me to go through and dissect this invoice, whether it's a handwritten invoice, whether it's scribbled on a receipt or whatnot, can go a long way. So the AP is one side, but to George's point, all of this leads up to better cash flow management and forecasting. It's a cash flow management business. Very simple what it is. As a general contractor or construction manager, you've got money coming in from owner, you're spending it on a fee of some sorts, which most of the time is low nowadays, and you just got to manage your cash very well and very efficient to make sure you're not eating into your fee, and make sure that you're getting your compliance documents turned around for ownership so you can get paid timely. And the time is the problem in construction. It's 80 some
Yeah,
days
100%.
timeline. So the opportunity for tech, to answer your question, is there a lot of technical solutions and smart solutions? Yes, there are. I think that there is a lot of them. I think there are few. And by the way, I missed that in our introduction. We have a kind of a startup investment type VC part of our company that invest in companies that want to perform or improve the performance of these types of problems, because we just feel the pain. So, I think the industry when it comes to construction management and financials, it's either you get the big ERP systems that are very costly, or you get just the bill.com or just the general, financial systems that really are not construction specific when it comes to compliance and gathering of documents. So I see a lot of opportunity, and I see a lot of consumer financial tech, lookalike needing to bleed into construction type systems as well, from an easiness and user friendliness.
Yep. And what I'm getting from what you're saying, Jerry, is construction's very complex. There are a lot of pieces to it, and it's a great application of technology if it can take that complexity and kind of simplify it. So let's see, Rishi, any thoughts?
Yeah, so last couple of years, we all know has been kind of revolution in the way these AI models are changing things. Right? And only 3 years ago, it was not possible to do exactly what we are doing right now. Right. So with that said, we also have to realize that the supply and demand of the AI models is also, like, in terms of people, it's not there. So there's like 300,000 AI engineers available worldwide, and there's 30 million web developers available. So this is like a 1 in, I want to say, 1,000 type of supply demand gap, and implementation of these technologies correctly at correct paces is definitely a huge challenge, right? If you take a look at some of the solutions we've seen is like not the right models used at the right places. A simple example is someone's using a GPT model, an invoice recognition problem, right? And this model is just not suited. You're not going to be able to get the accuracies you need, right? At the end of the day, the documents that are out there, let's say invoice, receipt, or some other type of them, they require different models, and that's where I believe that the opportunity is there for people to solve these problems now in a way that's going to change tremendous amount of time and energy for people in construction and in other industries as well.
All right. So I do have a question for you, Rishi, and this kind of ties maybe into a little bit of what Joe is saying. Like, yeah, it's maybe not the best use of somebody's time just to kind of manually be keying things in. But could you tell us why being human is called being human?
Yeah, so when we started this company a couple of years ago, we wanted humans to be really creative and solving deep problems, right? It's like
Yeah.
data entry, repetitive validation, and inefficient workflows. They're definitely not a problem for humans anymore. They used to be a problem of several, maybe 3, 4 years ago, but now these problems can go away, and with the right models and the presence of them, we can solve the problem. That's how I believe that there's a huge opportunity for humans now that the AI is out there. We gotta be at the next level where we shine, right? The creativity, us looking at the problems at various angles that now these stupid AI models cannot do, right?
100%.
Rishi,
Yeah,
I think that's
go
an
ahead.
excellent point, and one of the reasons is that implementing smart technology is so important in an organization because it really raises the value level of the folks. For example, in accounts payable, my accounts payable manager will now be the quarterback and facilitator and reviewer rather than just banging on a keyboard. And I think that's very important to the psyche of individuals.
100%, Joe. That's exactly what we did, is we converted that role to somebody that could look over what AI did and validate and verify, but the throughput and the capacity of that person just quadrupled, or that role, because of AI. So it's a tool. If you use it right, in the right workflow, in the right process, it could be very valuable. It has been for us.
So I think we've also chatted a little bit about ERPs, or at least that's been brought up maybe 1 or 2 times. For those in the audience, if somebody wants to take a stab at just explaining what an ERP is and what that does for financial workflows, let's start there. And maybe Jerry or Joe, if you want to explain like what an ERP is.
I'd be happy to start and
Feel free. Yeah.
welcome Jerry to jump in. So the ERP system in construction really is a work of art or a symphony, because if you think about it,
Wow.
it's the what I call the general ledger side, which is the financial statement side. So everything a normal business does with billings and payables and creating financial statements and inputting payroll or importing payroll, all that's on one side. But in a construction organization, you have the job cost side.
Mm-hmm.
And in the job cost side, it's tracking specific revenue, cost, over and under billings on a job by job basis. And then those jobs are broken down further into what's called the work breakdown structure, or WBS, into different phases and categories and line items. For example, you have excavation, and then you have equipment, and then you have subcontractor. You have all these different classifications that go from bid to contract to job, and then tracking the job all the way through its life cycle. So really the two need to work in symphony with each other. Mm-hmm. And before I issue my financial statements every month, I make sure that those two sides of the ERP are in balance. And that's what makes construction, one of the things that makes construction accounting.
Joe, you got muted, but I'll pick up from here. Yeah, there is, Erin, to your point, I'm glad you asked that question. In construction, when you talk to a lot, there is a lot of misconception on, some people think QuickBooks Online is ERP. That is not what a true ERP system, a system that's going to run your entire business, that can support automation and process in finance, human resource, manufacturing, supply chain, procurement, work breakdown structure, scheduling. That is kind of your overall ERP system. Unfortunately, in construction, there's very limited amount of those systems that exist today, and they're very expensive, and each has its own kind of pros and cons, and it depends on your kind of product category. You're now, unfortunately, in the era of, what's your volume a year and that's what your price you're going to get. You kind of get mapped to one. We've taken an approach that's a bit different at VCC. We built our own ERP system that connects multiple systems together. So we can use, call it P6 or Primavera to schedule, but we could use a different accounting software. We could use, we have, for example, our own contracting management system, but we could use Being Humans to read invoices. We could use DocuSign to sign documents. We could use, and that takes a lot of money too. It's a big investment. It's not something you're just going to blink an eye and do. But what it enabled us to do is to become more of a data warehouse for all of this, and then have a component of the system that houses all the data in a structured way. As I always say, you're going to have information architecture. IA before AI is so important. You have information architecture before.
Yeah, wait, pause there for 1 second. I think my brain just exploded. So I say that one more time, before
So
AI.
IA before AI.
And
I
yeah.
don't want to take credit for it because I was in a meeting with an IBM CEO in 2018 or 19 or 17. Back then it was Ginny Remedy, and we were in a meeting in San Francisco in the Moscone Center, and it was the start of Watson and AI and whatnot. And we had a meeting, and her and I were talking, and she was like, "You gotta, all of you guys think of IA before AI. Get your information architecture right before you start AI. It will help a lot." So anyway, fast forward, we have, it's not perfect yet. We'll continue to improve on it. We've built this data warehouse that stitch data and brings data from multiple sources, and to make it meaningful. So somebody like Joe, as a CFO, can see the work breakdown structure and how it relates to procurement, how it relates to payments. Does the subcontractor bill reflect what his progression based on what we think on the schedule he should be progressed is, and whatnot. Just simple data insights, but accurate data insight. Unfortunately, there's so much noise and so many shiny objects in the construction tech that a lot of people build these. So we've taken the approach of being the accumulator of data, but being open to integrations because there's so many solutions. So the ERP, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, the true ERP system should be open, which we're seeing less of those, to integrate with others, and to be comprehensive enough for you or for my CFO to have a good comprehensive look of a project before he issues the financial statement. Because I guarantee you, there's a lot of people just issue financial statements out of their APAR systems and think that's it. Well, you might think that's it, but a month from now, your forecasting is way off, or you didn't even know some things that were boiling. So it's an interesting category to be in right now.
Yeah, the ERP is really going to dictate how well your data is performing, or what you can do with the data, right? So that's also going to either open up more opportunities for automation or close them, depending on how well that data is flowing.
That's why it's so crucial to know what you're picking and who you're picking as far as your ERP.
Great insight. Rishi, any other thoughts on like ERPs and how they support financial processes?
I'm gonna not say anything. Joe and Jerry have covered it very well.
Covered it. Yeah. Great nuggets of information there, you guys. Thanks for sharing. So, a bunch of us here on the call have been in the industry for some time. We've seen different iterations of tech. What are some interesting pieces of, how ERPs have evolved over time to help support the needs of financial processes today and then also in the future?
I can take a stab, or Joe, but I can start by, I'm seeing from a tech perspective, and Joe will speak on the financial side, I'm seeing a lot of different types of models. I'm seeing the acquisition and vertical integrations like what Autodesk is doing, where they're building it by, by acquisitions and gathering of systems, which works in a lot of ways and has challenging in a lot of ways. I'm seeing a lot of it is a lot of people are figuring out having an operations system only is not enough. You got to tie it to dollars. And I'm seeing others that are starting as the accounting only system, and they want to be the ERP, so they're going and building modules that can encompass the schedules and the WBS breakdowns and whatnot. So I'm seeing it all over the spectrum personally, but there are very few that are very successful at it, if you would. And that's okay, because it is a very tough problem to solve. But that's kind of what I'm seeing on my end. Joe, I'll let you add more on the financial side.
But Jerry, my background have evolved over time, has gone from OneWrite systems and green bar paper for ledgers all the way up to now. So I've seen a lot, but I've seen the progression of systems through the database. What they called were ERPs, which basically had a lot to be desired, and everybody's downloading that data and using Excel and analyzing it, up to today's where we have fairly good construction ERP systems that do a lot of things. And I'll echo what you said as well with the architecture. I'm hearing in the circles that some of the large construction ERPs are making their architecture available to other companies to come in, because they recognize that they can't be the end all be all to all their clients. In other words, they may have an automated AP solution, but somebody wants to use something else, or they may have a query tool built in, but they want to use something else. They want to use the data warehouse type systems like the bricks and the Pronovos and things of that nature. And I think the new ERP systems are making it easier for the consumer, me, to choose how they want to set up their company, because each construction company has unique needs and goals, and to be open gives me a little bit more opportunity to get exactly what I want. So that's kind of how I've seen the evolution over time.
The flexibility.
Being open architecturally, I missed it, but you're 100%. And I think it's helpful. Back in the days, they used to not want to do that by design, and now everyone wants to open their architecture. Agreed.
I think I was going to add one thing. I don't think everyone wants to open. Some people are still reluctant to recognize the opportunities, right? This is where I think the market forces are going to play it out, right? If you're an ERP and I feel like not open, a lot of times the market's going to tell what's right? It's not one person, it's overall market.
That's right.
And we're getting before you continue, Jerry, we'll come back, but we are getting a question in the chat. Can y'all reiterate ERP again, please? Thank you. So ERP, I guess, to start with the very basic definition, is your enterprise resource planning or platform. And then if any one of our panelists just wants to give a brief definition of ERP again.
Well, ERP to me is your accounting system. So it's your general ledger, it's your accounts payable system, it's your billing and receipt system. It could be your equipment management system. It could be your inventory system, and on and on and on. But they all tie together so that you have one system that performs all the different functions, or most of the different functions that a company needs, and ties that together ultimately into financial information. In our system, we actually have payroll, so we process payroll in-house. So payroll is a part of our ERP system.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe. And then thank you as well for asking the question. And another reminder to the audience, please feel free to use the chat or the comment box to leave comments, thoughts, or questions for our panelists. So we'll grab them as we go through the discussion. And I do want to come back to you, Jerry. Didn't mean to cut you off there in your thoughts.
No, I mean, Joe explained it to me. I shared with Joe what he said. I also would add, in construction, ERP is not only, I mean, it's all of what Joe said, plus procurement, manufacturing, supply chain, think of it as your single database underlying system that house this data with architecture that you can stitch data and understand from one side to the other and relate this together rather than have, and that is the challenge nowadays, obviously. There is no, I don't think there is one ERP system that's just everything. I mean, some advertise themselves as such, but it depends on your company and your line of business and your categories. You may, again, that back to my point, that's why we selected or we elected to be the data accumulator or the data warehouse ourselves, so we can integrate with as many softwares as we need to.
Fantastic. So let's maybe move on to our next topic. So we've talked a lot about ERPs, what they do, how they've kind of changed over time to be a little bit more flexible and give us that data power on the back end. So now today, with the power of AI, I think that's of course been all the buzz. So I want to ask this question to Rishi, because you're definitely on the tech side with your solution. So there's traditionally been OCR, so like optimal character recognition, where you can have the computer recognize text. How is that different from the AI tools that we're seeing come out on the market today?
So one major difference is the modalities that the AI uses, and OCR is just using text, and the document AIs that are solving the problem here, they're using two other modality, visual as well as layout. So all the three modalities, when they come together, this AI looks at a document almost like a human would. The precision is the same. So on these models, the barrier, the way we measure the performance on these models, is it close to human level performance? And that's the kind of measure for us. And these models, the AI models that we are working with, they are there, very close to that level, and we need humans support to validate their work, but they're there. And going back to one more thing on the being clear about the importance of layout as well as the visual information is so important to solve these problems that we're working with optimally.
All right. So next, I kind of want to jump a little bit here. I want to go back to Joe, something you mentioned very early in the conversation, which is cash flow. And I think it'll tie into the whole conversation and pull it together about like why we're talking about ERPs and why AI is relevant. So do you want to take us through, why cash flow matters and how that ties into automation?
Certainly, and I'll share my screen.
Yeah, awesome.
So I hope everyone can see my screen now. And for this brief discussion, I picked the most simple cash flow that I could find. And it's basically just inflows and outflows of cash. But think of all the roots behind these line items of inflows and outflows. So everything we do in construction is with the intention of generating cash. So obviously the sales leads to billings, leads to collections, which leads to cash. But the difference that we make in gross profit, so our gross profit fade or gain, that determines how much cash we're left with at the end. Safety, you think about safety. The safety ratings that Kelley Brothers has allows us to get the jobs, which generates the billings, which generates the collections, which generate the cash. And quite frankly, even when I buy trucks for our supervisors, that's with the intention of investing the cash to allow the supervisors to manage the jobs, to be able to bill and to collect and generate cash. So everything we do in construction is towards generating cash. So when you think about the broad reach of that is cash flow forecasting, and by forecasting I mean really driving through the windshield instead of the rear view mirror. So I'm looking forward on my cash projections, and a lot of things come into it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to have this picture as a CFO and as a treasurer of the company to be able to see where we're going, see if we have any blind spots, see if we're missing opportunities. But how can technology help? Well, everything in construction is estimating. Our financial statements are based on estimates, and how well we estimate, how good of data we have, how quickly we react to data determines that. So how can technology help? Well, technology obviously can crunch much more data than I can. I can go through and review a bunch of things, but if I can teach AI to go in and look at different parameters and forecast cash and flag me when things are out, then I can spend my time, much like the accounts payable manager spends their time reviewing and distributing. I can spend my time really focusing on the items that are anomalies or are out of bounds or are different than we thought or projected. And by doing that, that's a more valuable use of my time or my analysis team's time.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, I can react quicker, and I can have better data to react with. And if you think about it, in construction is largely just risk management and risk transfer. And the faster, the more nimble, the better decisions that I can make, the more information condensed that I can give to my leadership to make those decisions, the better we're going to manage risk. So, receivables are just our contracts and our billings and our accounts receivable terms and all that. So AI can definitely handle that. Our receivables and contracts also include jobs that we don't have yet. So things from our customer relationship management system, the kind of the pipeline coming in, and we can evaluate that and cycle those in as well. Again, AI can crunch that. Our investments, so the money that we have invested, obviously we have terms on that, so we know when it's going to come in and when we can invest more money. Fixed assets, we're going to have a capital plan for the year, a capital budget for the year, that we know we're going to get rid of this piece of equipment, sell it, and then we're going to buy other pieces of equipment so we can layer that in. The interest and dividends flow with the investing, and borrowings. If we have any short-term borrowing needs, like our line of credit that we have a need for, and then other asset flow. So really, AI can really crunch all of this. On the payable side, we have a budget, we have history. So AI can kind of populate that. Payroll, we know what that is, and based on our the jobs that we have, so the contracts that we have and the billings that we have are going to largely determine our payroll and a lot of our payroll. If we have ACHs that go out and other drafts that we have to provide for inventory, that's pretty easy to digest. Oops. And then the loan payments. So all of this on the cash flow, AI can digest. What AI can't digest as well, I don't think, and where the humans come in, is the financial manager's job of not sitting behind a desk accumulating the information, but going out and talking to operations and talking to the estimators and talking to the folks that are going out there selling and saying, oh, we have a general contractor on XYZ job that's not doing so well, and is that job bonded or not? Well, that's going to factor into how I want to manipulate the cash forecast going forward. Do we have an opportunity that we're missing? Do we have a job that may fall in our lap? All those things are the kind of the art part. This is the AI part is really the science, and then the art part is really being in tune with your organization. And I think that the two working together create the best picture and the most effective picture for a financial manager like myself.
Wow. I love how you pulled that all together there with the art and the science, and AI is definitely extremely well suited to tackle that science, crunching the numbers part. So, and humans, of course, are fantastic with the more nuanced work, the things that take a little bit more of an art form. And I appreciate that comparison there, Joe. So that was very helpful, at least for me, hopefully for the rest of the audience as well. Any other thoughts on that, like cash flow and where the technology comes into play, Rishi and Jerry?
Yeah, I mean, I can, to Joe's point, comes to my mind. I mean, he's spot on. I mean, I think AI is a tool. And I think there is a lot of talk, is AI going to replace people or not? I don't think it will. I think AI will replace, I think people who use AI would replace people who don't. I think AI would be a very good tool for people to get more efficient, but still, to Joe's point, their focus is not to probably do the things that AI can do, but more like validate, verify, be more integrated with the company's workflows to understand other aspects of it and how the numbers came about, rather than just focusing on the numbers. And at the end of the day, that will improve the overall company efficiency and collaboration. But I think people who use AI would replace people in the future who can't or don't or refuse it, rather than AI would replace people. I really think that's the trend we will see. We're starting to use AI in different aspects of our company, whether it's in field operations, using technologies that can take progression tracking and actually, predict and forecast better progression tracking on jobs for percent complete. Because like Joe said, we're all estimating. We're in the business of estimating to project cash flows and project dollars and mitigate risk and make sure we build things on time, on budget, so we can make the fee we can make. Anything that can help make those things happen would be great. And AI hopefully would be one of them. And then also we're putting AI in with Rishi's technology and the AP management for now, that we're also taking and expanding more. So any kind of process, if you look at your company and project life cycle and draw it on the board, which we've done, and look at each of these processes, and you can see an area to make efficiency, an area to automate, an area for AI, it all gonna just basically increase the bottom line of the company from an efficiency standpoint. So I am excited. I'm also very cognizant and very cautious of just shiny objects that are not really AI, and they're just taking advantage of the wave. But so you got to be smart enough to understand and see where the needs are and how it impacts your workflows.
So follow-up question for you, Jerry. What do you look for specifically? So you mentioned like process mapping and finding the right solutions. What do you look for in a solution when you say, hey, okay, this isn't really a shiny solution. This is actually something that's real and applicable and is going to help us improve that bottom line? Like, how do you know which ones are a good fit?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And I can't by myself. I wish I was that smart. You got to engage company players. So you got to engage your CFO. You got to engage your key players or key executives or as Google calls them, smart creatives in your company. And what I mean by that is you can't think the technology itself will validate the story. There's a lot of cool tech. You gotta marry it to the process and measure the ROI for the process. Case on point, you take a system like Being Human. I've engaged my controller, my CFO. I said, guys, this is what this tech does. We can make it happen. We can integrate with it. How much of an ROI this would be for your workflow? Let them help you make the decision. They live and breathe it every day. The CFO can say, you know what, this would be great because I can have XYZ employees focus on this problem rather than spending 50, 60% of their time just data entry. Now I have a better use of their time. So that's a big ROI. Or it could be, you know what, this is cool, but really This is not a big problem for us. And it's okay. You can't solve everything, but you
Right.
the high ROI on processes and low-hanging fruit and take advantage of it. So
Yeah.
engaging partners from the company itself is big.
Bring in the people who are doing it every day.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. And a reminder to the audience, we are in the last 10 to 15 minutes or so. So if you have questions, now is a great time to drop them in. We do have one question from John Mack. Hey, John, thanks for joining the discussion today. His question, which might be a good one for you, Joe. His question is, what are the best financial reports you see? How are they assembled, manual or automated? What do they track? What is the tool they are delivered in? Are they interactional? Who, what roles has access to them, and why is access limited? So there's a lot to unpack
I
there.
was going to say that's
Maybe,
about a 16-hour class, I think, Erin.
yeah. Maybe John, we can connect on a deeper discussion, perhaps, but maybe pick one or two of the things, like what are the best financial
Come out to
reports?
Dallas and
Yeah,
we'll have a nice chat.
at the conference. Oh yeah.
The reporting thing. So I'll answer it very simply because we don't have a lot of time. One of the things I want to say before I do that, though, is I forgot to say in forecasting, one of the things that AI can do is actually bring in data from the outside world and influence my model going forward. And I think I'm very excited for that because as much as we think we're not, we have our own company and we're not influenced so much by outside forces. We are. In 2008 and 2009 came along and construction companies got a dose of reality. So I'm excited to look at AI as what it can do to bring in some external economic data into my forecast. And I know that I can control that valve, but I do like the opportunity to have that. And in reporting, so I've always taken a top-down approach, and I look at executive level data. So I always start out with an executive summary and summarize data. And I think of my owners and my leadership team. All owners of construction company and all leadership team of construction companies typically have ADD out just to the max. So if I give a stack of reports to a leadership team, either in paper or virtually, they're not going to look at it. So I start out with the executive summary, summarize data, charts and graphs that are important to that company. All the key metrics of a company depend on the company. There are some, like in home buildings, it's how many homes have we sold, how many homes have we dug, how many homes have we finished and closed. In general contracting, it could be how many how many schools have we done this year? How many jails have we done this year? How much private work have we done this year? How much service have we done this year? Is that on our budget? So all the key metrics are determined by the organization. So then I have a second level of data that's a little bit more expanded because typically an owner will have a question on the summarized data, and then they'll turn to the second level data, which has a little bit more detail to it, and answer the question. We can talk about the answers to their question. And then I always have the third level data, which is basically the work breakdown structure data, which is in depth. And I have never had a owner or a member of the leadership team turn to that third level of data. That's the level of data that I live in. So I hope that answers your question from a broad perspective. If not, please connect with me and we'll chat. We'll chat much more.
Something I'm curious about, like picking out from the question, like what tools are they delivered in? So I'm assuming our good old trusty Excel is probably somewhere on that list. Anything else, Joe, you could throw out there briefly?
Well, I worked at a general contractor engineering company that had its own reporting system that kind of like Jerry was saying, used the ERP systems. We actually had two ERP systems, and
Gotcha.
it funneled that data up, and we had other data in there, and it had its own reporting and dashboard. So I've reported that way, which I really like. But by and large, it's data that's either dumped into PDFs and reports and Excel charts and things of that with pivot tables, pivot charts, things of that nature. And
Mm,
I'm okay with that as a reporting front. I just don't like to re-enter data.
yeah, it's a killer. It's a double entry, triple entry things. So thank you for that, Joe. Fantastic. We are getting some other questions or comments here. So I do want to get to them. So this one is for you, Jerry, or relating back to your point. So Jerry's point on ROI on process. Do construction companies track/calculate cost of processes as they exist today? If not, what's a good way to calculate return?
That's a very good point.
Interesting one.
Some companies do. Very good question. Thank you. Some companies do. We really, honestly, I would be lying to you if I'll tell you we quantify every single process and put a dollar amount to it and all of that science. We really don't. I will tell you that. What I will tell you though, we have a team, including myself, on our management team that looks through these things and prioritize them. So you may not put, hey, this process. Now, there are some hard, obvious costs. If something really costs you a loss or a problem, or those are obvious. But we prioritize based on where the priority of that process is in the project life cycle. So obviously financials, risk management is always going to be the operations of risk and quality management. That's going to be pretty much on top because that tells you a lot of other things. But we prioritize. We have a group of people from different aspects and different divisions of the company that we prioritize these things, and we work on them together. Obviously, I lead all the tech implementation and whatnot, and some of the training. But throughout that practice, I've just gotten to learn so much about the process. But then we prioritize, we work on them, and we deliver them. We have our own issues, just like every construction company, of adoption and change management with people, which is normal, and it's very normal. You just have to accept it and work towards it and work to make it better. I mean, there's just no company that I know of that just gonna launch something and have zero resistance or no change management policy or whatnot. You just have to have those things. And then really measure the overall efficiency of the company. I mean, to me, that's big. And departments. If you accomplish these things, I think you'd be fine. I just feel like, and I think just marrying every single small process to a dollar amount is not really practical anymore, given how integrated processes are nowadays in construction too.
Yeah, I think in my experience with like process and ROI and looking at efficiency, a lot of the times what signals a pretty good ROI is when you can take away parts of the process by adding technology. So that's usually another way to see, okay, well, did we take something out? Did we reduce pain to kind of help evaluate? So we're in the last few minutes here or so. I do want to get an outlook on where this is all heading. So first, starting with Rishi, you're definitely in the technology space, having been in AI for a little while, and of course, having your solution Being Human. So where do you see construction finance heading in the future with solutions and the technology that's coming out and being applied?
I want to say, so it's been a time since we invented how to convert water into electricity. Right? And the electricity comes out and it can do so much. It just, everything that we have, a lot of things that we have in the world right now, and they depend on electricity. Similar way, in the last couple of years, the AI technology has gone really, it's crossed some really huge barriers, right? Now it can look at the documents, understand and process it, and structure it, right? Image to text, right? Text to video. There's all these modalities that are coming together, and it can actually do things that were not possible only a few years ago. And I feel like we are at the verge of an AI revolution here in construction finance, and a lot of people are already adopting. And I mean, we can see companies, and again, at the end of the day, the finite thing that humans have is time, right? And all of this is gonna save time,
Mm.
right? You have to remember, put it into perspective, right? And we don't need to fear any of this. I mean, we have evolved millions of years, right? Our species is super strong. There's no AI that's ever coming after us, right? So I'm really optimistic, and I feel like construction finance in general, our industry is gonna evolve, and we're gonna see significant productivity gain here in next couple of years.
Yeah, amazing analogy to electricity. So like AI is almost the electricity of construction. It's going to power us and help us kind of take off, if you will. So last thoughts on future outlook, Jerry and Joe?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I shared some of Rishi's. I also think the what I'm seeing, things are headed to, and what I'm seeing, there's going to be, I mean, I think we're entering an area where automation was big for the past 15, 20 years, if you would. Everybody wanted to automate, or e-forms. I think we're entering into more of a predictability based on AI and things that are just, reducing a lot of data kind of redundancies across things. So I think we'll see a lot of that in the coming 5 years. I also think there's going to be a lot of big moves on the field technologies themselves, the field operations technologies, not just the financial tech. I think that we're going to see, based on what I'm seeing, there's a huge upside to that from a AI predictability and just the whole BIM modeling, clash management and things to that nature, to where we'll have more accurate build outs and not have to build things twice. So I think I'm optimistic, obviously, because of the tech side of it. But I think that's gonna, and what I will say at the end is, it's gonna entice a lot of younger youth from the workforce to join construction because of the tech side. I think it's getting more interesting and more exciting.
That's my hope as well. That it'll also help reduce the labor shortage and
That's right.
inject some fresh energy. So we do have one last question that came in here. And I do want to wrap up here pretty shortly because I know a bunch of us here and probably on the call too have other things to jump to right after. But maybe Joe, let me just ask the question. So given the nature of the construction industry, should one strategize building in-house automation/AI team to improve processes, or should you outsource those services? So in-house versus outsourcing AI.
Really, that's probably a better Jerry question.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you be mindful, you will not be able to build everything yourself.
Right.
Just because of how big and how expensive AI operations are. Pick a good partner. If you can do a hybrid approach where you can have some things in-house that are kind of well fit for your company, but partner with good partners, I think you'll have the most successful results and the fastest results.
I would double down on that as well. Oftentimes construction companies are great at construction, but maybe not so much at the tech
Right.
side, and tech companies are great at tech. So
I would say just pick good partners and partner with good people.
All right. So thanks for that last question. And then in this last minute, Joe, any last thoughts you want to leave us with?
My thoughts are, I want to kind of echo what Rishi said. And I believe that the smart implementation of technology will save human time, which we all have finite amounts of, and really make our work more valuable. So I'm really excited for the future. I know construction is a little behind the technology curve, but I think we're going to make a jump here.
Fantastic. So on that note, we'll wrap up the discussion for today. I tremendously value all of our panelists as well as the audience's time here. So thank you for participating. And then this discussion is recorded live on LinkedIn. So if you want to come back to it later, or share it with somebody in your network, feel free to do so. So it'll be right on the LinkedIn page. So thank you, everybody, and have a great rest of your week.
Thank you.
Right. Thanks all.